Hello, and welcome back to the Authentic Creative, expanding our capacity to feel good. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that I've got my headphones on and I've got the gorgeous Marné here. And
Good
if you're,
morning.
good morning. And if you're thinking, well, who's Marné? I'm going to tell you. So, Marné Minard, did I say it right?
Yes.
So, I've never actually had to say your last name before. You
We should have
I
practiced.
know, right? I do that a lot actually. I'm like, how do I say it again? And I'm just we're clearly authentic here.
We're
So on the Authentic Creative, we've got Marné Minard, nutritionist and owner of the health-focused restaurant Bastion in Portland. Seeks to make high quality, seasonal, and nutrient dense food as mainstream and accessible as possible by serving the local Portland community and offering education around holistic nutrition whenever possible. And just to catch you guys up on why is Marnie here? How do I know her? Is it important to me to have her here to meet all of you? Is that she has, without sounding overly dramatic, changed my life in the sense that I thought I was just hiring a chef, a caterer for my last Goddess of Light retreat on Rockaway Beach on the coast of Oregon. She was recommended to me by a friend, Janelle Fitzpatrick, and we just vibed straight away. We hopped on Zoom just like today, and we are both Virgos. And
Our birthdays are one day apart.
like, yeah, just got each other. And I just felt very held by her. I think she felt and has felt held by me. And the collaboration became magic. At the retreat, it, for me, became more than, like I said, more than just like a catered experience, more than just like having a hired chef at a retreat. It really became an opportunity to vibe and be informed by a really magical soul. And everyone at the retreat felt the same way. They were very engaged and moved by who Marne is as a person and as an extension of who she is as a person, this like delightful fairy like lady that, her food was really an extension of that magic. And everyone just wanted to engage with Marne and engage with her in conversation, engage with her about the food. And then also, I had invited her to be a part of the magic of the retreat, which was, to come into circle, into the cacao ceremony, come into circle, into the breath work infused with Reiki, the transformational breath work. And she was able to manage doing her job and coming into the circle various times. And I don't want to speak for you about the breath work, so I'll just say about you, Marne, is that I got so much more than I thought I was going to by having you as part of the process with the women. And then people started asking, can we reenact this? Can we do this with my friends? And can I have a private retreat just like this one? And so that sprouted more opportunities for us. And then we decided to collaborate and get into doing more Goddess of Light retreats, and not just one, but like, hey, why don't we do 3 next year and beyond? And so we've just had so much fun meeting every Monday morning, going over, of course, as Virgos, going over all the details of like how the foundations of creating this feeling that we want to create for other women. So I've talked a lot. I want to just put it to you, Marne, like, how are you today? How was your experience of the beginnings of our collaborative relationship for you?
Yeah, thank you. I have to say, I've never been so flattered by an introduction before. Um, I'm doing fantastic today. I'm so excited to be here. This is our normal Monday morning meetup, and yet here we are, like talking to everyone, not just each other. So it's super exciting to share what we've been up to, share a little bit about who I am and about Bastion and what the future holds for us. I think that you spoke so beautifully to how we met or rather, when you reached out to me about the Goddess of Light retreat this past May, I as well thought I was just wearing my caterer hat. It sounded like a great opportunity to, get out of my day to day a little bit and go do an event it's over at the coast, it's a beautiful location. It was right up my alley, given the nature of the Goddess of Light theme and everything that you had shared. Um, but even up until when I pulled my car into the driveway and started unloading the first load of stuff, I was just wearing my caterer hat. Um, and then we met in person, and I started to meet all of the beautiful, wonderful women who were also coming in at the same time and unloading, and everyone was hugging and like just was the energy was so intensely profound, and I'm getting goosebumps again just by talking about it.
I can see it. It's like it was yesterday. Yeah.
It was so magical. And I, I in the best way possible, it felt like something just like a wall hit me. Like, and it just like trickled away. I guess rather I had a wall. I always some I try not to, but I kind of always have a wall. Um, and what
It's
happened when I got
probably how you've
there,
survived
and
the
it,
restaurant
it
business.
is. I mean, I'll share a little bit more about myself and
Yeah.
who I am, but it has been my coping mechanism for a long time. Spoiler alert, just due to my upbringing. So
Yeah. And I
what
want to
my
get into that. Yeah.
experience was something forced that wall to trickle down. Like I hit something energetically that said, you need to be here right now. And this isn't just about a catering. This is not just a job. You are meant to be here in this moment with these women experiencing this beautiful, sacred collection of ceremonies. And you said yes to this for so many other reasons other than catering. So I spent those 3 days chipping away at so many different things. It was my very first breathwork session. It was just so magical to allow myself to open up to what could be
Hmm.
and what already was.
Hmm.
So it was
So many
everything I
layers upon
needed.
layers of head chills as you're speaking, Marne, but please continue. Yeah.
So that experience was immensely helpful for me in ways that I didn't know that I needed at the time. For looking ahead to my own personal future, my business future, partnership and collaborative energies with you. Yeah, it just was everything I needed. And I'm so excited for what that means for our future Goddess of Light retreats and whatever else is to come.
Yeah, I have so much more to say about our Goddess of Light retreat that we already experienced together. And my intention for the beginning of this is to really get to know you better as you just started to give us a little peek into who
Mhm.
you are as a person and how you've grown up. So I'd like to go back to the beginnings. Where were you born?
Mhm.
Where have you been on your journey thus far? And, just like maybe we can do it in like 3 or 5 year chunks, if you will. Just like take us, if you will, like a little bit through your journey of life up until now. And I can
Yeah.
guide you too if you need me to, but yeah.
So it's really funny to be talking about this right now because I'm in the midst of doing a lot of really deep healing work around trauma and my childhood and my upbringing. And so this is a conversation that prior to 1 month ago, I would be very nervous,
Mm,
being asked about because in my head, I would be thinking like, oh man, what do I even like share? What do I not share? Because trauma is scary and trauma is also a little embarrassing. And it's like people's experience of hearing someone relay their experiences that are not so positive. It feels awkward. And
Mhm.
yet I'm here like so excited right now to talk about my childhood and who I am and how I was raised and how I've come to be who I am today because of that deep work that I'm doing. So I will just start by saying,
Such
um,
liberation for you and then therefore for us. Yeah, thank you.
yeah. So I was born in Long Beach, California. I only lived there. We actually lived in Anaheim. My parents ran a motel that was like right across the street from Disneyland,
Wow.
which sounds really fun. Of course, we left when I was like 2 or 3, so I didn't really get to experience much of that. But
Mhm.
um, one of the very first and most profound things from when I was in infancy is that my parents split up almost immediately after I was born.
Okay.
So my father was not exactly around all that much from the beginning. My my mom was still working for my dad's mom. She was the one who owned the motels that my parents ran.
Mhm.
Um, and shortly after I was born, she was having some, serious, deep thinking around like raising kids and where she was living. And there was a lot of um, unsavory activity happening in the neighborhoods. And so she decided to move up to Oregon
Mhm.
when, like I had said, when I was about 2. So we didn't live there for
What
very.
was the, may I ask, what was the impetus for Oregon?
Hmm. So I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline details, but I do
Okay.
know that my dad's parents, who owned the motels, had already moved to Oregon. They still own the motels. They were maybe in process of selling, but they had decided to move up. My dad was still living in California at that time, but my mom decided there was an instance where I believe when she was pregnant with me that she was working the front desk of the motel and someone robbed it and like put a gun to her pregnant belly and
Oh,
gave me all the money. So she was like, I need to get out of this. Like, I
was
can't
that
raise my
you
girl.
in, that was you in the pregnant belly? And do you have siblings?
I have an older brother and an older sister. I also have a younger sister. Of course, she's not part of this part of the conversation, but she was born after we moved up to Oregon.
Wow, talk about trauma with that
Yeah.
situation. My goodness, yes. Okay, so as many people do, that migration from California to Oregon. So that's where we are. So now you're in Oregon and you're like 2?
2 or 3, yeah. We lived with my grandparents for a while. My mom wasn't working at first, so it was like my mom and my older sister and I were just like a unit. Like we kind of did everything together. Unfortunately, I still don't have many memories of this part of my life. But I've got lots of pictures and they talk about it all the time that the 3 of us were just like the Three Musketeers, we just did everything together and kind of settled in on this new life. My mom, I'm unsure. I will say, as most mothers are, she was very selfless. I'm not really sure what lit her up or brought her passion,
I was just gonna
but
ask you that.
where she landed in terms of a job, a career, was always in restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
And so we never exactly had a ton of money. My mom for a while was a single mom, 2 kids to raise. My oldest brother lived in California with his father, so he was not with us all that much. So, single mom, 2 kids, working on a waitress's salary, which is not much, but we always had my grandparents to help, which was wonderful.
And they were nearby.
And
Yeah.
they were always nearby. Yeah. My grandmother still is probably my greatest source of inspiration in every
Wow.
possible. She was everything. She took such immensely great care of all of us,
Has she
including my
passed?
mom. She passed 2 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so let's say we're now in the time frame of like 3 to 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my mom was working at an IHOP night shift.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time with grandparents at that point, and she met my stepdad. He was a tow truck driver, came in, worked late hours, came in while she was working graveyard. They would see each other there, and um, they started dating. And I don't remember much at that point. I was 6, but I think things moved pretty fast. They got pregnant with my younger sister
Mm-hmm.
and got married.
Mm-hmm.
My younger sister was born when I was 7. And things were good for a little bit there. They started their own tow truck driving company together. My grandmother bought them their own tow truck so that they could run this business, which was going really well. It was this beautiful bright red truck. Word of mouth, like things were going great in terms of the business. And then my mom and my stepdad both started using hard drugs.
Mm.
And things went south for about 5 to 6 years,
Okay.
like very south. I'll skip over a lot of the details because it's not incredibly relevant, except that it informed me in many ways how to fend for yourself,
Mm.
how to grow up, even when you're 7, 8 years old. You've got a younger sibling that needs taken care of, your parents are absent. The environment is not healthy nor happy. Um, and yeah, responsibility was very necessary from a very young age.
Yeah.
And lots of very scary and very traumatic instances that children just should not have been exposed to.
Right.
So, as I
Mm.
said, I'm doing a lot of really immensely helpful deep work right now on uncovering all of that and telling myself that that kind of childhood is not okay and it was not normal, and it
But it
does
was what you
require.
knew. It was all you
Mhm.
knew. Yeah. So
Yeah.
up until recently, you weren't able or ready to see it as not normal, is what I'm
Yeah,
hearing. Yeah.
I normalized it. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Um, so yeah, it was what it was, and it created the person that I am today, all of the good parts and all of the parts that I would, I've got some walls that I would like to break down a little bit, and some perfectionistic tendencies, which come for us Virgos no matter what, but especially when you have that kind of upbringing that, you're only good enough if you are responsible for yourself and everyone else around you and work really hard. And so, yeah, some layers there that I've been chipping away at. But things did improve. So they actually separated, both separately cleaned their acts up. They actually got back together and were remarried when I was a
Wow.
teenager. Um, so, kind of a happy ending there. They're still together today. Yesterday,
Wow.
today. Um,
Sorry, I
so
missed that. You said yesterday.
yesterday was my stepdad's birthday. So
Oh,
I was on the
got it.
phone with them. There was a little family thing happening down in Eugene. Um, so yeah, some of the work that I'm doing now is in recognizing that I still have a lot of healing to do around my relationship with him.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of trauma and things that I haven't discussed that directly relate to him that it's just never been brought up. And
Yeah,
he has no memory of it ever happening.
of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
But at any rate, so let's say now I'm a teenager. We've been living in Eugene this whole time. I didn't mention that when we moved to Oregon. Grew up in Eugene, so went to high school. Pretty normal, I would say. 4-year period there. Trying to think of anything stand out that happened at that point.
What were you interested in high school? What did you like to
Hmm.
do?
I was very intellectually smart. Part of
Straight
my
A?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Part of my early childhood taught me that the best thing I could do is be really quiet and stick to myself. And I spent a lot of time just doing schoolwork,
Like
or
keep
reading
your nose
books.
down, do your best, don't make noise,
Yeah,
get through.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, by high school, straight A student, I can't say that I found myself very passionate about much of anything.
Well, you were in survival, right? You like were
Um,
just kind of being the mom, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I was really smart and I liked being really smart. So I would, always doing my homework, always reading books. I did play on the tennis team, which was fun, but I wasn't like super gung-ho about it. It just like it was there, I did it. Um,
Did you have time for friends?
I did. I've always been a pretty quiet person, so I was the kind of person who had like 2 or 3 or 4 like really close friends, but no like big circles.
Hmm.
And I thrived better that way. I felt like I could communicate better on like a one-to-one level than with like 7 or 8 people around me.
Did you
So,
feel like you could bring friends over to the house at that point? Was it safe enough?
yeah, it was never my preference. I was always a little bit embarrassed about even after things were a bit better, and the drugs and everything were out of the house, I still felt a little bit ashamed of my home.
Yeah, yeah.
Whether it was everything, it was always so chaotic. There were always like way too many pets. It was a really small house. There were too many pets. There were,
What kind of pets did you have?
oh my gosh, all sorts. Always dogs and cats. Like there were numerous dogs and cats, but then my mom would always sort of at random like bring home goats or ducks, or
Wow.
like our backyard was kind of like a little bit of a zoo or something. Um,
Okay.
but the animals were not always like well taken care of. They were loved, but like physically they weren't well taken care of. So, we'd have like dogs that have like scabs because they're like licking themselves too much and like,
Hmm.
it just was, and then
It's
like,
that's interesting because I think about when I get that image, I think about nutrition
mhm,
and how much you have a passion for nutrition now
yeah,
and caretaking
and
of the
health.
body, of the self, spirit, mind, soul. Like that's really
Yeah.
maybe stemmed from feeling like things were not taken care of.
Mhm. And unfortunately still aren't in some ways. Yeah, which kind of brings us back to now, but health issues are like kind of rampant in my family, and um yeah, a lot of it being really diet and lifestyle based. So it just seems silly to me that people can treat their bodies in such a way that they are not living their best lives and they're not feeling healthy and can't go out and do the things that they want to do, but it's like they are the ones in control of it. Um, and I know that in a lot of ways they aren't because of ways that they've, um,
Just been patterned and
just, yeah, like
yeah, it's
patterns
hard
that
to
are
get out
that are
of it,
learned.
those
Yeah.
loops. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, high school was just sort of getting through. It was getting good grades. I went to the University of Oregon for college, which I did because that's just what you're supposed to do after high school. I didn't do it because I was particularly passionate about anything.
And
Um,
you didn't want or feel like you could go far,
right.
like
Yeah.
outside of the area. Did you still feel like you had to kind of take care of home?
Yeah, there was definitely that. So I will say when I was about 15 years old, my real father, who was in our lives, he also had moved up to Oregon shortly after we did. Um, my older sister and I would see him a couple times a month. We would do like the every other weekend at his house kind of a thing with
Hmm.
my stepmom.
Hmm.
And kind of ironically, while the, drugs and abuse and stuff were happening on the home front, my dad and my stepmom were actually the ones providing the majority of the stability for my sister and I.
Okay.
They taught us a lot of the foundational things like how to brush your teeth and how often you should brush your teeth and how to eat well. And there was like more of a sense of family and community with them than
Hmm.
there was in our home.
Hmm.
Um, and then at about 16, 15 or 16 years old, my dad had a motorcycle accident and had to have his leg amputated,
Wow.
which was, a big deal. And it unfortunately led him into a drug relapse.
Hmm.
So my mom had told us stories about how he had used drugs when we were like before we were born, like early in their lives.
Hmm.
And then he had this, clean and stable life for us. And then after his motorcycle accident, he, just went off the deep end a little bit. And
Well, having such an integral part of your body needing to be amputated is so, I mean, I can only imagine.
yeah, pretty debilitating.
Yeah.
So by 18 for me, I had finished my senior year of school, like I was done with all of the credits I needed to graduate by like the first term or the first semester of senior
Yeah.
year. So I left school and got a full-time job and moved out so that I could distance myself a little bit. And I was so eager to grow up for whatever reason.
And were
Um,
you working in a restaurant?
I was working in a market of choice in the bakery department. So
Oh.
yeah, this was my first introduction into the food business, but not exactly restaurants quite yet. Um, and I mean, it was a great job. It was a great first job. I was around food. I started learning how to decorate cakes, which was really fun.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
I love it.
it was really fun. When I was 19, my father's health declined and he ended up passing away when I was 19. So that was a really huge marker for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
My sister and I were both with him in his hospital room when he passed. So that was
Wow.
very spiritual and huge experience that I did not know how to cope with.
I was just gonna ask you, what was your beginnings of your spiritual awakening? And would you say it
There
was
it was.
that moment?
Yeah, there it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
um, yeah, there's a little deeper trauma around that my stepdad took a really huge um, personal attack by me getting a tattoo to honor my father when he died, and decided that I was no longer welcome in his house. I was no daughter of his for this act of mine. So there was about a year period where I did not go to my mom's house at all.
While you were grieving your father's death. Girl. Ooh, double whammy. My
The
goodness.
triple, the really unfortunate triple whammy of this scenario is that my boyfriend at the time, who I had been with since I was 17, we did like high school prom together, graduated together.
Sure.
He was also using heroin at that time,
Okay.
gone from like, recreational marijuana use to like some far more serious and significant things. So we separated.
We get attracted to caretaking. Yeah, right? It's familiar. Yes.
Yeah. Um, so shortly after my dad passed away, he came clean and said, I've been using heroin.
Okay.
And, he went into NA and went down that whole path and cleaned himself up, which I got to be a part of and was really nice to see. But there were also some really deep levels of trauma related to that relationship um, and whatnot that I didn't know how to communicate about. And we actually ended up getting married when we were 24, and I left him by the time I was 25
Mhm.
when I moved to Portland. Unfortunately, that relationship was pretty doomed from the beginning, but I just didn't know how. I was too young to understand that like that drug abuse and how it affected our relationship and then my inability to communicate about it and his inability to communicate about it. We just were both so young. Um,
Yeah, and you were working out some or a lot of the dynamics that it was unsafe to work out with your family, is my
right,
guess. And not that it was safe with him either, but
right.
there's some sort of like nuance that allows you to like keep working through those particular dynamics of. And so drugs were never something that you were involved with. It was always something that you were helping people out of.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, um, yeah, I mean, I feel sorry, my dog is making some noise there behind the door.
He's protective. He's like, Mommy's vulnerable right now.
And you
You
probably
wanna,
smell me sweating.
yeah. Well, I do want to say this is so vulnerable and so authentic and so like the transparency that you're coming to us with, most people don't feel comfortable doing that. And so thank you, Marne, for sharing so transparently and so authentically and with so much vulnerability, because that takes incredible amounts of courage. And you are, as you said in the beginning, that you have these walls and your intention is to let them fall. And my goodness, have you let them fall? Because here you are standing metaphorically naked for us, and it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
really not, especially when you're new to being an open book in this particular sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, so thank you.
of course. Yeah, it's my pleasure. It's the practice that I need. Um, so yeah, so I will say my second big moment of, I don't know, like exploration or self realization
Hmm.
was when I was 25. I had married my high school boyfriend. I knew things weren't what I wanted them to be, but I also didn't know any better.
Hmm.
I was working at the University of Oregon Athletic Department, which I think I skipped over mentioning. My undergraduate degree was in Spanish.
Okay.
I thought maybe it was like a practical choice, even though I didn't know what I would do with it, just because I was like, well, learning to speak another language is great. It's going to be helpful kind of no matter what. But I didn't, like I said, I didn't really have any specific passion for what I was doing. I just was like, this is a logical choice. This makes sense. Why don't we go this route? However, while I was in college, I had left my job at the Market of Choice Bakery, and started working for the University of Oregon Athletic Department in the business office as a student, just doing like some light admin work, a little bit of accounts payables and whatnot. Like they were teaching me some things, but
So
as I was,
you're learning about food and business and
mhm,
caretaking and nutrition, like all of these pieces I'm just noticing
they're like kind of
of the
coming together a
puzzle
little bit.
starting to come
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Um, right as I was graduating, a full-time position in that office opened up, and I was like, well, it makes sense. It's a good job. It has all like it checks all of these boxes. It provides safety and security, which is something I haven't had for so long. So I took it, and that for me was an introduction into exercise and fitness and taking really good care of my body. Excuse me. And I was watching the things that these student athletes were being fed,
Hmm.
which, with zero background in nutrition at this time, I thought, why are they being fed these like, can't even think of, like Gatorade and Powerade and all of these like
Hmm.
things that are artificially dyed and have sugar and all of these
Hmm.
like honey stinger things and like um the gels that they eat during a run. And I'm like looking at the ingredients on these being like, how's this healthy?
Hmm.
These people are like working out their body so heavily, and then they're being fed like something that seems really artificial. That's weird.
Mhm.
But it's like following this USDA standard. Um, and I started watching documentaries and reading books that were about nutrition and food and like using juice cleanses and different diets to like cure cancer and
Wow.
just the way that food can be used as medicine. And I went, this was my third big aha moment was like, oh, nutrition. I found my passion.
Hmm.
And I started a food blog and like all of my time
What
outside of
was the food blog called? Do you remember?
it was called Everyday Vegan Kitchen because
Okay.
I at the time decided that a plant-based diet was what I wanted to follow.
Yeah.
It worked really well for me for that period. Um, but it was the kind of plant-based diet that like used real foods. It wasn't like fake meats and things that are
Hmm.
like made in a lab,
Hmm.
which resonated really strongly for me. Um, and I discovered the National University of Natural Medicine up in Portland, where I live now. And it was, they have a master's degree in nutrition that uses a food as medicine concept and has like these hands-on culinary classes as the lab component to their lectures. And it just lit me up. Like
Hmm.
every fiber in my being was like, this is meant for you. Like
Wow.
this is what you need. So my first radical act of self-care and self-love was leaving my husband.
Hmm.
It was moving to Portland on my own without knowing anybody in the city, which
Love
was
it.
like as far away as I could possibly fathom moving from my
Right.
family and those who still needed care taken of them.
Yeah.
Um, and I enrolled in this program, and it was life-changing for me. It showed me that there's a path that I can follow, that I want to follow, that serves me and serves everyone else around me, which
Yeah.
is exactly what I think I was missing. Um, so yeah, it was a wonderful program. So at this point, I'm 26 years old and going through this master's program and learning about different ways that I can use nutrition as a passion and as a career and heal people and heal myself, of course, which I
Hmm.
needed and still do need a lot of.
Yeah, and I think so much of what healers, wellness people, people in the self-growth world, healing artists, therapists, etc., what we're doing is, and even in other arenas too, is a lot of what we're doing is healing ourselves in the way that we serve,
Yeah,
right? That what you're just describing is we're healing simultaneously our inner child, our childhood, what we needed as a child. We're scooping ourselves up, and then we're also giving that which we needed to others. So many people, that's our story.
yeah. And just every time you provide something for someone else, you're fueling that inner child that wasn't given what he or she needed at that time. So yeah, it's such profound work. So I think that takes us pretty close to today.
I'm
Um,
so curious about the birth of Bastion, and I don't
yeah.
want to skip over any other big momentous moments. Was there any, were there any restaurants that you started before Bastion?
Yeah, and that is part of the Bastion origin story as well. So, you know, food was pretty ingrained in who I was from the beginning, just with a mother who worked in restaurants. You know, we were at the restaurant all the time, while growing up. And I also was like, I don't want that. Like, that's not the life for me. Um,
Hmm.
and then there was, you know, the market of choice stint in the bakery was about 3 to 4 years. Um, then U of O athletic department was about 3 to 4 years. Moved to Portland, you know, the NUNM program was 2 years. And when I graduated from that, I was like, I don't want to leave this environment. Like, I finally found my people. So
Mm,
I was working full time for NUNM, running their internship program, running their kitchen courses, kind of like the logistics of the kitchen.
hmm.
And then I was teaching part time as well in the kitchen,
Okay.
something I would love to come back to if or when time and space open up for me in the future. But then, as I was working there, I was also on the side doing a meal delivery service, working on the weekends
Wow. You
with
were
a business
busy.
partner. Yeah, always have been.
Yes.
Um, we were doing therapeutic meals for people who like had dietary restrictions and couldn't eat certain things. Um, so we did like all the grocery shopping on one day and then all the prep and meal delivery on Sunday, and then it would be like back to work on Monday morning.
Wow.
And, it was gaining momentum. People were really interested in it. We saw the need for it. And unfortunately, I had a business partner in this who I graduated NUNM with. It just wasn't sustainable for us to be like working full time and then
Sure.
weekends making meals for people. So I started looking around Portland to see if there was anywhere else that I could send our clients to.
Hmm.
Because we decided like let's unwind this business. It's just,
Hmm.
it's taking too much out of us. And then I found this little cafe in Northeast Portland called Jewel Crafted Nutrition, spelled Joule, like the unit of energy, Jewel. Um, and they were like making bone broth, and they had this like create your own bowl situation with like all these different options like that were accommodating different dietary restrictions. And
Hmm.
they were using these like pretty specific nutrition words that I was like, who are these people? Are they nutritionists? What are they doing?
Hmm.
Um, so I kind of like sneakily popped in one day to like sniff the place out. And the person who owned it is now my husband.
Wow.
Um, he does not have a background in nutrition, but he has a very rigorous, like high chef background. He went to culinary school in Philadelphia and worked at some high-end restaurants on the East Coast. And he has a personal connection with using food as medicine that really was like his aha moment that like, oh wow, I can heal people with food instead of just like making fancy food for people.
Hmm.
So he had started this little restaurant, kind of like with that same level of passion. And then I entered the situation and was like, what you doing here? I'm a nutritionist. Do you need a nutritionist? Because maybe I want to work for you.
Hmm.
And it ended up being that, they were looking for a nutritionist to help them like set up their menus and have like different types of menus based on different dietary protocols. And they wanted like referrals from naturopaths, which I already had from my meal delivery service.
Wow.
It ended up being that like we were looking for each other and we didn't even know
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Um,
did you, when you first saw him or met him or a month into that relationship, kind of get an inkling of romance, or
oh, it was
was it just like
immediate.
over time? It was immediate. Okay.
It was
Chemistry right
immediate
away.
for both of us. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
we
love it.
sort of proudly share at this point that we were like secretly starting to date within like the first 3 weeks of knowing each other.
Yeah.
And like, this is a terrible idea. Like, you own this business and I'm an employee. Like, we shouldn't be doing this. Um, But you can't mess with fate. But we also just celebrated our 2-year wedding anniversary last night. So
Congratulations.
clearly it was meant to be. So yeah, that was almost 7 years ago now that we met
Wow.
and secretly started dating and working together. And that business unfortunately did not survive through the COVID pandemic of 2020.
As many did
Um,
not.
we did not. But it did give us, and honestly, I'm not going to go into it, but it did not fall by way of like financially not surviving the pandemic. It was more of like a business disagreement between ownership, team,
Hmm.
and political
Hmm.
forces. Very unfortunate because the business model was fantastic and we had a good following and it got shut down. But what it did provide for us was a ton of insight into what
Hmm.
people wanted.
Hmm.
And so I took that information and opened Bastion
And
about
was it a
a
different
month later.
location? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So Bastion was born out of the rubble of Jewel, but with a very deep-rooted knowledge into what kinds of nutrition therapies we wanted. I think I need to pause and
Hmm. Yeah.
just okay. So where we were was that Bastion was, kind of born out of the rubble of what had existed previously, and it provided for me really good insight into what has been missing in the food industry. I mean, specifically in Portland because that's where I am, but kind of, I would say nationwide, if not worldwide, in terms of accessible food that people can get just by entering a restaurant that provides all of the nutrients without any of the bullshit ingredients that are in everyday food and especially in the restaurant industry. Um,
I know
so
that the women that have had your food at our Goddess of Light retreat and more recently at the first and second degree Reiki certification retreat, where we brought in some foods from Bastion, it just applies across the board to everybody's needs and preferences, regardless of what that is. That we're like, we got you covered. This doesn't have any of your issue, you know,
yeah,
things that are going to be an issue for you.
yeah, and that is the goal. It's to, so we are by default free from gluten, dairy, refined sugar, soy, corn, peanuts, seed oils, all gums, all preservatives, and artificial like dyes and ingredients as a whole. So
When
that
you say by
encompasses
default, tell me more what you mean by that, if you would.
like across the board 100%, like that is our foundational baseline. So we don't
Mhm.
ever stray from those
Got it.
options. So if someone is maybe not gluten-free, but they can't have just peanuts even, they're safe there. We don't have any peanuts in the in the building at all. Like environment is totally peanut free. It's totally gluten-free. It's totally seed oil free. So that, kind of regardless of what people can't have, um, they can feel safe there.
Yeah, I know when Jake and I walked in the other day and he's been on this gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free diet as of recent, he was like, "Oh my gosh, I can have
Everything.
anything."
Yeah. And that's such a wonderful feeling for people who normally just make every meal at home because they have to, like they can't eat anywhere. And then they enter the building and they're like, what? There's an
Yeah,
entire restaurant that I can eat anything at
and
and
it's
feel
good.
healthy and feel good. And
Yeah,
yeah, and it's food that we don't just think of as being like, oh, it's good because like it's good for gluten free. It's like it's just good food
yes,
that happens to be gluten free or that
yes.
happens to be dairy free. So even if you don't have any restrictions whatsoever, you can still go there and be like, well, that was a wonderful meal and not feel like you were missing anything.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, I don't have specific restrictions that I'm aware of. I probably could, but that is how I feel. I feel like, oh my gosh, I just had like a super yummy taste. And that's the thing with everything that you make and that you made for our last retreat is it's very filling, surprisingly filling, even though it's so quotes, it's like, oh, if it's healthy, it might not be filling.
Right.
And it's very flavorful, which one might think, oh, if it's healthy, it might not be so dynamic,
Yeah.
right? And even the desserts, I'm crazy for the cookies. They just are good, even though they're healthy.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
how long have you guys been open for, Bastion?
I almost said next month, but that's September. So the middle of September will be 4 years.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and this was my first rodeo. Like I've been in food. I was, most recently I had been working with Paul, my husband, for 3 years at running Jewel. Prior to that, it's like the food business is like part of who I am, but I have never run a restaurant prior to opening my own business. And now we are almost 4 years in. I have 16 employees. We have an offsite commissary kitchen space that we built ourselves
Wow.
that was a very large undertaking. Um, and we're doing fantastic work and people want it. Like every single week we are so busy and it's like we have a line out the door and
I
some
heard that there
it
can
can
be an hour-long wait.
yeah, it can take like an hour to, between like start to finish to get your food. And it's great to see that there's that level of demand for what we do. And we definitely have growth ideas and growth potential. And I'm not really in any significant hurry at this point to like expand into a second location or whatnot, because part of kind of our part two of this conversation is around Goddess of Light and our collaboration. What I have discovered in almost 4 years of running a restaurant is that it's really hard work. Like I've known that
Hmm.
it's hard work, but it's so self-sacrificing and it's oftentimes very thankless. Even when I have customers coming to me saying, this is the only place I can eat at, and I'm so grateful for what you do, it still becomes very thankless work to
Hmm.
just grind and grind and grind and to deal with shortages and to deal with these tariffs that are causing massive increases in prices. And then, like, you can't even raise your menu prices to offset that as much as you need to, because then it's like you're selling a sandwich that's $25. Like, who's going to pay 25 or $26 for a sandwich? And nobody should have to.
Hmm.
But also, like, that's the cost of serving all organic and really high quality food.
You
Um,
guys, I'm giggling silently because Marne's dog is just like wanting her attention so bad.
he really, really is. He's very needy and very affectionate Australian Shepherd who
So
has
sweet.
been very patiently waiting while we've been on this call for some time now, but
Yeah.
his patience is wearing thin with me.
Well, so here is how I want to wrap it up by saying thank you again, Marne, for giving us such really just straightforward, authentic, like what I like about the way you tell your story, the way you told your story today is it's just like you said, like no bullshit. Like it's just what it is. There's no like I'm a victim of circumstance. There's no like overly dramatic kind of it's just you're just this is what it is,
Right.
guys. Like here's what happened. And I
Happened and
find
here's
that to
what
be
was born
very
out of it.
sorry, what?
Here's what happened and here's what became of it, you know?
Yeah. I find that to be very empowering to hear someone share a story that's, filled with struggle and challenge, as many people have their own version of, but that you're just like very matter of fact about it, because I think that's where we can get to and where you're clearly getting to. Obviously, there's always more work to be done and more unraveling, but it's like clearly you've done enough work to be able to say, this is what it is and I'm sharing it and I'm okay to share it and I'm not I'm not crumbling from the weight of telling the truth of this.
Yeah.
And
This can be very
yeah.
empowering.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that. And I think that our fear, I know for myself and for others, our fear is that the more we show of the parts of us that we are embarrassed by or have shame around, the more we're afraid that we'll get abandoned again and we'll be rejected and we'll be judged because that's natural and normal, of course. And we all have that protection. And then it's like, but actually, we fall in love
Mm.
when we hear your story and we fall in love with your resilience and your heart and the way that you've cared for the people, your family growing up, the way you cared for your boyfriend, the way you are working to forgive your stepfather, all of these pieces, it's so endearing. It's the opposite of what our fear is. And I think that we even more are like, yeah, I want to be in her world because she's just who she is, regardless of what environment she's in. And that's my experience of you, is like you're just incredibly authentic, regardless of whether you're at our retreat or whether we're on just a one-on-one Zoom together or whether I see you at the restaurant. Like you're just who you are. And I think that's a massive part of what is so attractive about you. And then also your food, because it all comes down to like truth. I think there's a truthfulness to who you are, how you show up, and what your food is as an extension of that, the care and the love. So I just intrinsically, one other thing I do want to share, and we can talk more about this in the next episode because we're going to do a part two, but is that a lot of the women at our Goddess of Light retreat felt very much that one of their favorite and most valuable takeaways from our retreat was not just the Reiki or the breath work or the circling up and sharing and crying and laughing or the concert. It was like the food, the way that everyone, and we were all so quiet when we were eating because we were just like immersed in the experience of
Nourishing.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, thank
thank you.
you. Yeah, I guess I just want to
Mhm.
sort of recap it all, like from where we began this morning and talking about how we met and our first Goddess of Light retreat together to, through the whole story into where I am today. It's just to say that, running Bastion has been like the most um, profound and amazing work that I've done. And I've met so many incredible people and like sharing such deep parts of myself by feeding people and nourishing people. And it is such hard work. And also, it's such rewarding work. And I am now at a phase where kind of between the restaurant and the commissary location, we've created such wonderful systems and we have a team in place that has been with us for so long. Like the majority of the team at both locations have been with us for at least 3 years now, that
Yeah.
feeling both the need and the ability to step back from the day-to-day operations and kind of reignite my passion and see what else is next for me and
Mhm.
kind of create a chapter 2 of Bastion, which takes us back to the Goddess of Light and why we've decided to create these future retreats. And for me, I'm just really excited because it's an extension of what Bastion is already doing by providing this wonderful, deep, nutritious food. And it's so seasonal and it supports local farmers and organic practices. And it takes and encapsulates that and brings it into this very nourishing and like deeply moving circle of people at these retreats. And I just can't wait for what that's going to look like. I mean, we already saw a snapshot of it this past May, so to just like see that progress in the future is so exciting.
It's so exciting. Just to have that nourishment and being held on every level. And of course, we'll continue the conversation because we'll just go on forever if we start talking about it. But we have big visions and a promise. I was just thinking of the word devotional because yes, it's hard work, but the hard work comes from a place of devotion, and
Mhm.
the devotion is at the core of it is love. And so I think that when you hit the pillow at night and you've been of service in that devotional way, there is a satisfaction to that. Even when we're bone tired, there's like, oh, I served people, I nourished them, I helped them, I helped people thrive. And that is what you're doing. So to be continued.
Absolutely.
I don't want to cut you off if there's any last little gems that want to come through, but thank you, Marne. I appreciate you so much. I'm so honored, as I always say when we start our Zooms together, I'm so honored to get to work with you. It's such a delight, and it just feels right, and I'm excited. For you guys that are listening, keep expanding your capacity to feel good one breath at a time. And if you are anywhere in the vicinity, or if you're able to, because apparently people fly in from all over to go to Bastion, go ahead and get your own experience of what Bastion is for you. And then of course we'll have information about our Goddess of Light retreats on this podcast as well. And you can look in the show notes. You can see Bastion's Instagram. You can follow them on Instagram, and you can Google and look them up and go visit. And then of course you can come to our Goddess of Light retreats. We've got March, we've got May, we've got October. So lots of opportunities to circle with us. What's that?
Not a thing.
All right, guys, loving you. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.